Hello, everybody, and happy Christmas Eve to everyone. So today, this is a special edition. I was going to do the regular news, and somebody said, just be yourself, just do what you normally do, and just and make fun of everybody on your show. I said, nah, It's Christmas Eve. I'm gonna be nice, and I'm gonna interview my dear friend Jennylyn Gleave, who's with us today, Jennylyn, I have a whole lot more followers than what I used to have. So this is going to be kind of a reintroduce of you.
Okay.
Because as you know, as time goes by, you have your own podcast. So you know how the videos tend to get buried at the bottom of the list as time goes by. So there's probably a lot of people who are like, I don't know who Jennylyn Gleave is. So let's go ahead and start off with explain to the audience, who you are and why you're so dashingly significant in my life and to the world, and how you're saving the world with your fantastic journalism.
Eric, those are big shoes. I don't know that I can fill them. Anyway, guys, my name is Jennylyn, and I'm a woman, 100% woman. Born a woman and will die a woman. I have had a television show / podcast for going on 16 years. I started in the California Silicon Valley, and my goal when I started was to encourage young people that regardless of their socioeconomic background, they can make a success of their lives. And so I started by interviewing people like the co-founder of Apple and Oracle and those successful people that we all know of, who, as far as I know, came from meager beginnings. And they shared with me how they made their way to success. And my goal was to encourage any ambitious, young, hardworking American how they can do the same just by hearing how those successful people became successful. And it has morphed into many different types of shows because over the last 5 years or so, I have really gone down the spiritual path, and that's taken me in a whole different direction. But my goal is still to help people because I'm intrinsically wired as a humanitarian and I can't be anything else. One day I was scrolling through TikTok, and you know how people just appear in your feed? And one day Eric showed up, like I don't know how he got there. And I watched this video, and he was pretty new on TikTok. And while I was watching him, I heard that voice that I've grown accustomed to trusting tell me to reach out to Eric because he and I had work to do, which was a weird thing to be told about a complete stranger. But I trust that voice more than any voice I hear. And so I reached out, and Eric replied, and the rest is history. So, in a nutshell, that's a little bit about me and how Eric and I met.
So Jennylyn, it is now that I look back on our first interactions, and I still remember them like they were just yesterday.
Right.
And it was different. I had people reach out to me before, obviously, but never like out of the blue from the angle that you came from. And I was like, man, who is this lady? Why is she like? I felt like it was a setup. Like, what is going on here? And then now I know more about you than probably most people. And you're one of my and you are one of my dearest friends.
Thank you.
And I care deeply about you. And how many hours and hours and hours of conversations have we had?
And work.
So I can actually credit you, Jennylyn, with the techniques and the things that I have learned with your extensive background, and you're basically, you know, for the most part, self-taught, and you've passed that knowledge on to me, and I will ever be forever grateful for you for that, because I've been able to. I took my TikTok before it got taken down to 26,000 followers and millions of views. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without some of the suggestions that you gave me. And I'm, now that I'm, you know, spending more time building my YouTube channel up, I'm starting to, you know, reintroduce some of those techniques, you know, that I learned from you, and I'm seeing the growth again. So it's very exciting. And it's, and by the way, I love your outfit.
I'm trying to be festive.
Eric, yes.
Can I just interject and add something? Because I don't want to forget to say this.
Okay.
When I heard your TikTok was taken down, I was really bothered. But I'm going to say what I always tell people. When someone's content is being removed, that is a person you want to follow, because that person is telling you what you need to know, that those who run the show want to remain secret. So if you don't follow Eric on YouTube, you need to subscribe, because I can vouch for the information he's bringing you. Not that I do the research with him, but because I know him to be a person of integrity. And there's a lot lacking on social media in today's world.
That's true. And, you know, just thinking about it, and I don't know if you've gone through this in your own, you know, journalistic journey or not, Jennylyn, because you know, it does seem like, you know, the videos that you like, you're a very well liked, you know, journalist. Everyone loves you.
I don't know if that's true, but thank you.
Well, I'm putting that positive energy out there for you. Everyone loves Jennylyn, and I do. I love your shows. I still continue to watch them.
Thank you.
And they're very entertaining, and you always bring on somebody that I can learn something off of. Like I always learn something every time you do one of your shows. So it's awesome how you pick and choose. But I don't know if you've had this you know, happen to you. But as you know, I start to go down this rabbit hole of information, and I start to find some of these things. The negativity comes, like I can always tell when I hit on something, like you said, that they don't want anybody to know, because I'll just get bombarded. And it's really obvious, and I don't think that they realize that it's that obvious, because I'm the one creating the content, so I know the flow of information coming in and out. And so when I've got an even flow of information coming in and out, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 I'm getting hammered with all this from this side, I know it's like a beacon, and I can go, yep, dig more into that.
All right. And I agree with you, Eric.
Yeah. So it's I mean, it's trying at times, like, you know, the death threats happen and all these things, but you know, we've talked about this, you know, quite frequently. And you know, we know that it's kind of part of the territory that when you're out there in the spotlight, you know, these things happen. Now, Jennylyn, I want to talk to you about your international influence, because a lot of my listeners, I don't think they realize that I've done quite a bit of international news on major international news outlets, and I can also attribute that to you, because you're my international plug. So everything that I've been able to do is because you've opened the door for me. And,
that's sweet. Thank you.
Well, it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. And I'll forever thank you, because, you know, like when I do the Republic and I work with Prem, I love that channel. I love the way they do their news. I love the way like they're so happy to have me on, and they just constantly thank me, and Prem will send me like messages all night long thanking me after I do a segment with them. So it's very exciting. Um, so kind of talk about a little bit, so you've done some major international events. So just kind of go through and talk about some of those things that
Hmm.
are interesting for people.
So I've gone to China, and I've done at least 3 television shows, 3 different years in China, where I interviewed this doctor who he's a plastic surgeon, but he doesn't use the plastic stuff. He takes the fat off of your body and he transfuses it, and then he makes it transmuted. I think I'm not thinking of the right word. He centrifuges it. That's the correct word. And what he does is separates fat particles from small particles. And then, depending on where he's using it, he replenishes loss in the face or wherever the patient wants to get this done. So that's fun stuff. And I've really enjoyed this because it is fun and I'm treated well. They fly me there. I stay in wonderful hotels and I spend all day with the hospital staff. It's been truly a blessing to be able to do that. But then I've also gone to Trinidad. I've interviewed the Dutch ambassador to 7 Caribbean islands. And I was doing a lot of this type of interviews and shows. And then COVID came, and I found myself doing most of them on Zoom. Because prior to COVID, I had my shows in the studio and I had 2 or 3 cameras and 8 to 10 people working on the show. And this is way more convenient. However, the shots aren't as nice because it's 2 shots. That's it. And you don't get to see the different angles. But if you're more interested in what people have to say, that doesn't matter too much for some people.
Right.
Now, the shows you're talking about, the last election, I was contacted by some of the international channels in India to come on and discuss the elections with them, and also Pakistan. And I was actually featured in the Pakistani newspaper, The Telegraph, a few times. And here, Eric, when I met you and I saw your abilities, I think I noticed them before you because
Yeah,
you were
probably.
so diligent, and you're very committed to this. It's like intrinsic for you also. However, I had started dialing back my involvement in these news channels because people kept telling me, "Don't do it, stop. You're a woman," and because I know I am just a small independent journalist. Most people never heard of me, but I guess a lot of people heard that where it matters because I was being watched. And I am still being watched. And you know I'm being watched. And I was dealing with some other spiritual stuff that you know of, Eric. And one day I just decided I'm going to pick my battles. During COVID, I interviewed a woman whose name I can't say or they'll pull your video down. But she is a doctor that worked on the team of doctors who were working on the COVID vaccine. And for reasons I cannot say either, because your video will be taken down, after I interviewed her, I was advised not to put up the interview for my safety. So I didn't, but something told me not to trash the footage, but to keep it in my archives. And last December, it was rumored that we were going to have another COVID type breakout worldwide. And knowing what I knew from that interview, I went into my archives, I took out the video, I posted it on YouTube. I've been producing television for 16, going on 17 years. I've had my YouTube channel since I debuted my show. I never got a ticket. Within a half an hour of putting that video up, I received my first ticket from YouTube with a warning. They pulled the video down. They told me if I ever posted anything like that again, they would give me a second warning, and then they'd pull my whole entire channel with 16 years of work down. And so that was my first major shake up, and that really shook me to the core because I couldn't connect the dots as to why such a violent reaction to this. It felt violent to me, because I couldn't understand why would YouTube have such an issue with this video. And then I realized that everything this doctor was telling me was the truth.
Right.
And so I think since that incident, I got placed on their radar. And so when I met you and these guys from India kept calling me, oh, we need you on the show tonight, I thought, you know what? Eric was a cop. He's got good muscles. And I think he can handle them much more than I could. So I see in him better abilities than I had for this. I'm just going to pass the baton. And you have not disappointed. And I've never regretted, giving you this opportunity and just taking the back seat with this one.
It is. I'm not going to lie, Jennylyn. It's challenging because they're on a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people factor this in, but they're on a very, it's like 10 and a half hour time difference between Atlanta and where are they at? New Delhi or somewhere around in there. But it's.
Oh, they call you half an hour before they need you. Like, Jenny, can you come in?
Look, Prem has said, hey, can you come on and talk about the tariffs? I'm like, well, when? He's like, 5 minutes. I'm like, I don't even know where I'm at right now. I'm laying in bed. I thought I was having a nightmare. And then you got to hurry up, get dressed, hurry up. Like, man, it's challenging.
Well, you have more flexibility than I do for that also, because I also have other obligations during the day. So I was really happy when I saw you step up to the plate, because they are constantly calling on me before I met you to do this. And although I wanted to help, it wasn't always logistically possible. And I hated to say no. So having you come and take over the baton, like I said, has been really great, because these guys are really nice and I really like to help them.
Yeah, it's a great channel, and they run it very well. And I was really happy with how hard that they fought on the Suchir Balaji case. That was something that I think all of us put a lot of work into, and to have a major media outlet like that come to bat with us was a big deal. I think it opened up a lot of doors, and obviously, Tucker Carlson picked up the case, Candace Owens picked up the case. So I think we were able to kind of trailblaze more exposure for Suchir's family. So I think,
what's going on with that?
Last I heard, they were in a wrongful death suit. I'm going to have to reach out to his mom again and find out where they're at on that. I think it's pretty much as far as getting, I'm not sure they're going to get any answers. I think that Sam Altman's, which is the OpenAI CEO, the guy who pretty much runs our AI system, ChatGPT and all that. I'm pretty sure that he's so high up on the totem pole and his influence is so big that he's going to be untouchable.
I think this is the other reason I backed off of journalism, and I have just started producing shows again. It's because it is so evident that some people in the upper echelon are not held by the same standards of the average American. And so they do what they like, how they like, and there's no accountability. And an average human could be caught with a bag of drugs on him and they're locked away forever. And why are Americans okay with this?
Right.
That's where I struggle.
Yeah, I mean, so I read a book several years ago by Glenn Beck. I don't know if you know who Glenn Beck
Yeah,
is,
I do.
but he wrote a book called The Overton Window. And after I read that book, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what they've done to us. And they basically take the minimum amount of acceptability that we're capable of handling, and then they take the maximum amount, and then they'll create an event and put it in the middle somewhere and have us get used to that median event, and then they move the window. So now that median event is now the minimum, and then they can continue to push us down a more radicalized society. And after I read that book, that's one of the greatest books I've ever read. Glenn Beck's The Overton Window.
Unless you read the mouth.
Or if you read any of my two books, The Switch Protector from the Mouth, they're the greatest books ever.
Exactly. So, you know, I'm always promoting your books, Eric. I promote your books more than any book because of the reaction you got to the book. The fact that you found a bullet hole in your house after you put the book out, I
Yeah,
think people need to read it. I think the only way we are going to affect change on this planet
right.
is if more people find out what you and I know. Because I think when more and more people see the big picture and stop with the cognitive dissonance,
Right.
then they'll realize the game. The world is a stage and it's a big game being played, and the game goes on because half of the people in the game are asleep.
Yeah. I think when I wrote the book, The Swiss Effect, one of the things that opened my eyes when I was researching the book, I was talking to a journalist in St. Louis. And I had found an article that she had written for a newspaper outlet in St. Louis. And it was basically explaining how Senator Elizabeth Warren was going after BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. And this journalist, and I'm not going to say her name because she's got a safety issue with this article, but she had eloquently and masterfully articulated, why Elizabeth Warren was right. And I don't agree with Elizabeth Warren on anything. I'm a Republican. I don't like Elizabeth Warren as a politician, but on that specific issue, she was right. And they're using the State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock are invested into each other to keep their monopoly going. And that's what Elizabeth Warren was fighting. So when I called her and asked some follow-up questions, she was like, I don't remember writing that. I don't think I wrote that. You should probably not talk about that. And that's when it hit me. And I'm like, well, they got to her. And so then I changed my line of questions to her. I said, do you think it's going to be detrimental to my safety to talk about these things? And she said, I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Very diplomatic.
And so that's when I was like, okay, so then I got a phone call an hour after I got off the phone with her from a private unknown whatever. And they said, it's probably in your best interest to not talk about this. And I was like, oh my gosh, man, they're tapped into my phone.
I had to pull myself away from all of this. For at least 4 months, I just buried myself under movies, not movies that were made by Hollywood, because I ain't watching those people. I'm sorry. I know what they do. I know how most of them became successful. So
Right.
I cannot stand there knowing what I know and be entertained by anything they do. And so I found these like movies and books, these books that were written by romance novels, and they're all like the same story. But I had to do it because When you know, you cannot unknow what you know.
Right.
And it was burdening me because it's difficult for me. I don't like bullies. And if you really examine our lives, our parents were bullied, and this has cycled through generations, the bullying.
Right.
And I'm tired of it, and I'm powerless alone to change it. And so my goal is to help people wake up so that we can change it. Because prior to the elections, I said I'm not voting because both both sides are wings of the same bird, and this is my humble opinion. One side is controlled opposition, but they're all batting for the same team. So they tell us a whole bunch of things because you have to play the game on the world stage. But look what happens every time they take seats in the office. How many of them deliver what they really promise? And personally, again, this is my opinion. I have no proof, but they know going in they can't deliver what they're promising. But it's like a chess game. It's like a fiddle. Oh, we'll play them. We'll tell them this, oh, and they're out there wearing their red hats or blue hats or whatever. And I just watch it, and it makes me really, really sad because very smart people I know are playing in the system.
So I
And
want to add, to that, Jennylyn, because you bring up some really good points. Just with that little segment there, and I know you've been in the journalism, the TV industry long enough to where you can probably identify this personally. But just from the time that you started until now, TV and journalism has completely changed.
yes,
And I was talking with someone the other day. I don't remember who it was, but we were talking about journalism. It was another journalist from another state that I know. And we were talking about it. And, I get accused of being a wannabe journalist all the time, which is fine. And
you know who you are. People don't get to tell you who you are.
right.
Remember that.
Right. I'm famous.
Nobody knows Eric better than Eric. You live in that body.
Right. But the thing that got me, and I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, I don't do everything by the book. And if I was to go back and look at the 1960s or the 1950s or even the 70s and go, what did journalism look like back then? And you had very, very down the line, moderate, like they spoke the facts on the news and that's it. There was no opinion attached to it. It was, here's what happened, and walk away on to the next story. Mm-hmm. And we are so far from that base in journalism.
Why do you think that is so?
Because we've learned that the money and power got so greedy that they need more. And so what's the greatest, as media has evolved technologically over the decades, they realize it is now a weapon. They stole it from Hitler. Hitler showed them how to do the propaganda mechanism, and we've just taken it and tweaked it and modernized it, and we use it now.
That's one reason, in my humble opinion, once more, which I haven't received a memo from the government telling me I don't have one anymore. So I will go out on a limb and say this. I think the other reason is when the bully has been dominating the ball field and he owned it, he didn't have to do anything because he owned it.
Right.
But when the bully realizes that his power is being removed, then the desperation changes everything. And you see where the bully tries to show who holds the power.
Right.
That's my humble opinion.
I see it every day, Jennylyn.
That's what I think is happening. They know whoever they are, I'm not naming anyone, but like Bob Marley says, who the cat fed, let him wear it. So the bullies know who they are, and they know their time is up.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it trickles down to all levels of government.
Mhm.
I think we're seeing that there is a quiet, a silent resistance. Um, a lot of people that I've talked to throughout the last few years on the ground that are living in these little communities and in these little wars, they all pretty much say and think the same way. But what keeps them from taking back their communities is fear and retaliation. And so that's when I say put that trust in my hands. I'll fight them for you. And that's where I get a lot of kickback because they don't like somebody who's not afraid of them.
But
And they
you have
can't.
to be careful too, because we don't want you committing suicide or getting a heart attack. Or, you know what I'm saying? So if we need you around, we don't need you to leave us yet, because I
Well,
believe you're making a huge impact. When your TikTok channel got canceled, I'm like, I knew it. You're a great researcher, Eric, and you're not afraid to leave the stones. You turn the stones over. You get the information.
yeah, I mean, I try to. I mean, they do everything they can to block me from getting certain information, but I'll figure out ways around it to get it. There's a leak in every government agency on this planet, and I will find it, and they will give me everything I need. That's what I bank on, and I'll tell them that. I tell them that all the time, and they can't stop it.
Well,
So
and I also believe that even though all of these agencies have all these people working with them, some people have a conscience. You can't tell me that
yeah,
they're all
yeah,
NPCs. They're
you're
not
right.
all NPCs. And at the end of the day, some of them have relatives that are being affected by what they know
Correct.
is going on. And
Yeah,
so deep
yeah,
down inside, they want change. They're afraid. So if they could leak to a trusted source, and this is how we get the drip, drip, drip. And you are good at going after the drip, drip, drip.
I'm like a rabid dog. When I see it, I'm going.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean that's what gets me a lot of recognition on, especially when I was on TikTok, because people know that when I get a lead, I'm gonna go. I'm coming at you with everything I got. And I think that it's a way. We were making some big changes in Kentucky. Like if you would have driven up I-75 in Kentucky and said, "Hey, have you ever heard of the Expendable Show?" I'll guarantee you 90% are going to go, "Oh yeah, we know who that person is."
So what happened with that? I wasn't watching it because like I said, I was trying to stay away from that because it was really beginning to to influence my general demeanor. And I was having a difficult time finding my peace. Because
Yeah,
when you know all of this that you know is wrong and you're powerless to change it and you're watching what's happening to innocent people, you bury your head in the sand because what else do
right.
you do? And that's what I
Yeah.
did for a long time.
And like we've talked 1,000 times over between me, you, and Mel. And and for those of you who don't know, Mel is our other dear friend.
Hmm.
That's in our little club.
Yep.
But as you were going through a lot of really difficult things
It's
and having all
happening. Just so you know, Eric, it's happening right now. That's why I'm fidgeting.
this. Well, do your thing.
Okay.
But you to take in all the negativity, and like I stay in a negative cloud, but I'm conscious enough, and I to keep my mind right. Even though I'm getting bombarded, the old me 20 years ago would have retaliated against everybody, but now I just take it in and go, okay. Now they're giving me a roadmap to who's doing what. And when my TikTok went down, I knew exactly who did it and exactly why they did it, and exactly what I was going to do. I had already planned on it getting taken down, so I already knew how I was going to get it out there. So it does suck because I had to build up really nice following. But I don't do this for the monetization. I do it for the information
Exactly.
and to get people out there. I get accused all the time by this one mayor's group of flunkies, and they're always like, he's here just reading off of a script that the city council, they hired him to come here. I'm like, do you guys watch the rest of my content? I'm in like 20 different counties. I'm not specifically down here just picking on your poor little billionaire mayor. Like I got if you're corrupt, that's where I'm at. So if you don't want me there, don't be corrupt. Don't oppress your people. Don't do things like that, because that's what makes me mad, is when I see people getting oppressed. I came from a community that did the exact same thing to their people. And I grew up in that world. I was on the other side of the fence of that world and saw how the tactics they used and all of those things. My mom worked for the most powerful lawyer in our county for 30 years. I watched all the corruption happen. I would wake up and this lawyer would be sleeping on my couch, on a Saturday morning. I'd be like, why is this guy here? I'm sleeping on our couch. And, it's because he did something and he had to hide, or his wife kicked him out because he came home and he was on a bunch of drugs. Like I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. They can't sit here and tell me, well, corruption, that's just something in Hollywood that they make in movies. That's not true. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've been a part of it. I've been on the receiving end. I've been on the giving end. I know what it looks like. And so when these moms call me up and they're in tears because no one will listen to them and no one will help them, I can't handle that. And so it makes me want to go, give me everything you got. And I'll give them everything I got. So,
Well,
it really gets to me, because I'm sympathetic towards people that are suffering. And
of course,
I don't
we
like
have
to see
that in
that.
common. What I'd like to say to every American watching this segment with Eric and I have a question for you guys. These thought-provoking questions will help you to find the answers. I'm not giving the answers. I have an idea of the answer, but I want you to think about this question. We elect politicians because they are supposed to serve us. That's what the government is supposed to be. Why does the government punish those who are trying to assist them to provide that which they promised, which is what got them elected in the first place? Why,
Right.
if you have someone helping you to do your job, if you are elected to serve us and that is your agenda, why then are those helping you to do the same things we elected you to do are either committing suicide, awful things are happening to them, or they're being silenced? That's simply the question that burns holes in my mind. And I'm asking someone to please give me the answers.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, and it reminds me of what was her name? The House representative from Indiana. I think her name was Jackie Wozniak, but she was doing that film with Anne Heche, that documentary on the child trafficking, and both of them ended up dead.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that funny? You know what I saw? You remember there was a bridge that got crashed into by a ship. Remember that not so long ago?
The Ukrainian,
Right.
yeah.
And shortly after, Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law died in her Tesla. She went off a bridge or something. I was reading this week where there's technology out there that can take over your car and drive the car.
No, yeah, it's there.
And you cannot control it. I don't know why both of those stories popped into my mind. I don't know why, but think about it.
I mean, you think about this. Elon Musk is by far the smartest man on our planet. I'm not even sure he's really human. But anyway, I think he's extraterrestrial. I'm going to actually stamp that. Elon Musk is an extraterrestrial. Take it to the bank. But do you think for 1 minute that when he was developing Tesla, or as he's evolved Tesla, that he didn't create a program in there that he can't just push a button and shut that car off. He did. It's there. There's fail safes for everything. If the government wants to call him up and say, hey, we're looking for somebody who drives a Tesla, Elon Musk is going to go, I know exactly where they're at. I got a camera in that car that'll show you his face driving the car right now. He's got access to every single thing. And it's just like a lot of people don't realize, like these devices, our phones, our laptops, any electronical device that has an IP address is owned by a private citizen. There's one person who owns the IP addresses. So we don't own, we own the phone, but we don't own the IP of the phone. Somebody else does.
And you don't own the content. You don't own the interactions on your telephone.
Right.
And you may delete it and think, oh, I deleted it.
Right.
Sorry.
The guy who owns the IP addresses is Tony Saruga. And he can find anybody on this planet. If they have a device on them, he knows where you're at. And it's luckily he doesn't abuse it that we know of.
I have to be really, really, really careful what I say. But
right.
Sometimes
I've actually talked to him before.
You have?
Yeah, I talked to him on Twitter.
And did you ask him that question?
Yeah, so he had just started his Twitter account and he was posting like this big information. I'm like, who is this guy? So I started researching him and I'm like, man, he's a somebody. And then I started researching, he's got hundreds of businesses. And so I tore his whole life apart just to make sure he was legit, and he was.
When I started my show, I went after what people call the high-hanging fruit. And the reason why is not because I thought they were somebodies. I think everybody is somebody. And I do not put anyone on a pedestal. No one. Because we all have to eat, sleep, do the same things, and die. And leave the planet in an urn or a box. And I've never seen or know of anyone who isn't going to do all of the above mentioned. So I put no one on pedestals, and no one intimidates me, and I fear no one. And so what I wanted to say is, when I started the show, I went after those people that the world calls the important people, quote unquote. And the point of doing that then was to make the point that if this girl who is independent, I produced, my hosted, got all my talent myself from my show, if I could do that, if I could get Mr. Steve Wozniak, who is a remarkable human, great respect for him, I would put him on a pedestal. If I could get him like early on in the game on my show, anybody can do anything. I also got the co-founder of Oracle. I got some big fish.
Larry Ellison?
No interest. His name is Ed Oates.
Oh, okay.
He founded Oracle with Larry. I also had an archbishop. I've had the doctor who was spearheading AI in medicine in the entire world at the time. He was on my show. And so my whole point of doing this was to show young people, all you have to do is try. You may not always get the result you want, but if you don't try, how would you know if you could or not? And so that's but now I've come to a place where I want to promote people like you who's just getting started, where I see ability, where I know this person has integrity. And if he's a journalist, people can count on the information he's bringing because he will bring the truth. And for me, news, you shouldn't be seeing a story that happened down the street. It's one incident being reported on different channels with a
Right.
whole different slant.
Yeah.
That's not news.
No.
Somewhere it got distorted. And I don't want that. I want what really happened. Otherwise, I don't want anything. And so for me personally, mainstream has become that. I
Right.
just don't even watch. I don't even know who's on what channel anymore because it's been over 2 years I've not watched mainstream.
Yeah, that's
And
one thing that I do in my investigations a lot is when I'm like, hey, if you guys say I'm wrong, then put the information out there so the public can see it.
no,
And
you're
they
not.
won't do it. They never do it. They want to keep everything all hush hush and quiet because they don't want anybody to start digging into to some of their stuff because they know there's some dirt sitting there. And so, that's why I get away with a lot on my platforms because they know I'm onto something and they don't want me to dig too far because if it gets exposed to the public, I'll be right for one. And they don't want to be wrong. They don't want me to be right ever. And on top of that they get exposed. And then all of a sudden, I feel like a lot of these communities are having the same problems what Tim Walz and his administration in Minnesota just got busted with. I think they're all funneling money around through all these non-government organizations and giving everybody kickbacks. I think it's happening everywhere. And I think in order for us to clean up that fraud, it's going to take a massive government like overhaul that I'm not sure that we have the manpower to do. So it's going to be a big mess, but I try to do the best I can. I'm like, hey, that money there, that don't add up. Just so you guys know, there's money right there. It doesn't add up. Somebody go count that, go do an open records request. But then they give you the spin move on the open records request. And then you got to go do a federal FOIA. And then they say, oh, we never had those documents never existed. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So like they just spin move you to death. Even some of the major news outlets in the state of Kentucky, they do these communities, they do it to them too. I just watched a news segment where the anchor, and she's fantastic. Her last name's Samantha Valentino. She's a great investigative journalist. And she has been putting in these open records requests to the city of London, and they keep denying her. And it's just one of those things, like just give them the information. And that same city make the city council put in open records request for information that they should not have to open records request, just to inconvenience them. It's the games that they play, the pettiness that happens, everything they can just to slow you down from getting to the truth.
Well, I can promise you it all leads to one place. Follow the money, the puppeteers to the puppets, and you will get the big picture. So at the end of the day, all these little minions down here in these little city council offices, you could bang your head against the wall till you're blue in the face. Those who control them, those who they yield the power. They like I say, follow the money. But here is the thing: we are not all stupid. We are not all NPCs. We are not all sleeping. And guess what? When it comes to me, my information is given to me by the divine.
Right.
And whether you people believe that's possible or not, I'm not here to convince anyone. But the information that comes to me comes from a very reliable source. And I know it's same is true for Eric, and then he goes and digs up and he finds all of what connects us to the information we are given. And so my hope is that people start waking up. How many of what you listen to, how many of what you watch is making sense to you? As a child growing up, I kept asking I've always had this analytical mind that had to connect the dots and the picture had to make sense. Otherwise, I'm like, what is wrong with you? How could you accept this when it makes no sense? And I got frustrated with my parents, my teachers. I'm like, don't anyone have answers for anything. And then I started growing up believing that the world was full of mysteries and we weren't allowed to know those things our teachers and parents couldn't tell us because we're living in a mysterious world. And then I became a woman. I was no longer a girl. And I knew that was BS and that
Yeah.
I was being lied to. And in my older life, when I went down the journalistic path, what I discovered completely depressed me. And I wished it was really a mysterious world that I was living in because I did not like the answers that I found when I did find them.
I mean, that's true. I mean, your thought process evolves, just like when I was in law enforcement. I at first, for the first several years, I just went along with whatever. I was just rank and file, just do what you're told. And I did what I was told. And then as I started to get older, I was like, this consciously isn't sitting right with me.
Exactly.
And so I started to resist it. And they slowly tried to work me out the door. And you know, I had to continually fight with them over it. It was insane. Like, how can you say doing the wrong thing is the right thing? How can you tell me that doing the wrong thing is the right thing? I can't accept that answer. And so, you know, that's what, you know, being the expendable, be the expendable show. I do this because I'm willing to be expendable for the people. And I've accepted that, and it's okay.
Well, I can tell you one thing, Eric. I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't want to forget this. Companies and governments have hired really wonderful people with integrity and corrupted them because
absolutely.
they were forced to do what was going against the grain for them. But they needed the money and they didn't want to be a failure. So you think about that. Those that are supposed to protect us and keep us safe have taken good people and corrupted them. And how is that okay? Second question I can't find the answer for.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a question we'll never see the answer for. But Jennylyn, before we go, I forgot to do this. I had to put my Argentina hat on. So Jennylyn went to Argentina not too long ago, and she sent me a whole bundle of stuff. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, the chocolate didn't last 10 seconds. As soon as I opened up, I was like, cool, a hat, chocolate, done. I ate it. As soon as I got it out of the package and ate it.
What did you think of the coffee?
The coffee. So, the coffee is phenomenal. So I'm going to give you a vice. I like the smell of coffee, but I hate the taste of it.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so I just smell it.
I didn't know you weren't a coffee drinker. Okay, all right. I like their coffee. I like their beef.
No, I'm going to drink it eventually. Yeah, I'm gonna make a cup of it because I know that it's gonna be like grade A premium coffee because it came from the coffee capital of the world. So I'm gonna taste it because I need to know what grade A coffee tastes like. It's probably not anything like Folgers or yes. So I'm curious to know what that tastes. Yeah, I'm curious.
Keep it and give it to your girlfriends when they come over and let them tell you what they think.
Why you put that? You made that plural, Jennylyn.
Okay, well, girlfriend. Well, girlfriend.
Yeah, but I highly appreciate the art. I love this hat.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I walked a lot to find you that hat, let me tell you. We were having trouble finding hats in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And when we did find it, I said, I hope they like it because a lot of love has been put into finding these cats. I got you one and I got Mel's son one.
Yeah, that's great. That was good of you to do. Mel's son, he's a good kid.
Yep, he is. Well, Eric, I hope we don't get killed.
I'm always gonna put up those positive, energies up for you, and
Thank
just
you.
for people in general. I know to close this out, I know that I'm very heavily critical of these communities and of these people, but with Christmas time, I want to bless every single one of them, including my enemies. I want to send you as much love as I can, and I hope that all your families are able to experience peace, forgiveness, kindness, caring, love. I hope everybody has a great holiday. Everybody stays safe, and all of that. So, God bless everyone out there. I'll be back on, what day is today? Wednesday. I'll be back on Sunday at regular time talking about regular stuff that's going to make people mad. So I want to thank my dearest friend who taught me everything I need to know.
Oh, that's not true.
Jennylyn Gleave. If you want to watch her show, it's called Conversations with Jennylyn, and she has a YouTube channel, and it's fantastic. You're going to learn something on her show, I promise. I do every time I watch it. She's got interesting people on there, and tell Jennylyn, tell Sergey I said hi.
That's so funny. I just got a text from him. He's happy in Russia. He just back home in Russia. He just got a home for him and his mother, but I'll be happy to. And
Good.
for all you watching this show, I am not a Debbie Downer, but I want to see a better world. That's all. I'm not here to bash anyone or poke anyone with the fire stick. I just want the world to be better where the average person can live comfortably and all of the injustice stops. If not all, some of it, because wrong is wrong.
So we're just curious, were you Miss Bolivia?
Bolivia?
Yeah, no, not Bolivia. What country are
I'm
you from?
from Guyana. I was born
Guyana.
in Guyana. Yeah.
Because that speech you just gave sounded just like like something you would say at a beauty pageant.
So am I getting the crown?
Yes, you should have a crown.
Okay, let's fix it.
But you're French and a leopard at the same time right now.
Well, I'm part French. My dad's Lebanese and French.
That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
I knew he was Lebanese, but I didn't know that he was part French.
Yeah. So yeah, but at the end of the day, every human is wonderful. Even the people who are doing these horrible things, I think there's good somewhere inside of them. They're just
Absolutely.
giving the power to the not good parts. But I'm told that has to happen. We have to have the yin and the yang so we can have balance. Somehow, though, I feel there's more yang than yin. There's not.
Well, that's what we try to do is keep the balance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is going to be it for our show. Thanks once again. Thank you, Jennylyn, for coming on. It's always a pleasure, and I'm going to try to have you on a little bit more because I enjoy our conversations, and I know people will get to know you and will get to like you and all that. So, Jennylyn, have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you for having me. Merry Christmas, Eric. Merry Christmas to Eric's viewers. Keep watching this guy. He's the real deal.
I'm out. Peace.
Bye.